ways back in 89, 90, in the UK especially, a lot of them were illegal, is to bust into an old warehouse somewhere, break the chains, set up a small PA, and most of the people knew about the parties because of word of mouth. Also used to have telephone services where you used to all dial into a number.
Rave is a derivative of music which really started in the early 80s even in the United States. Detroit, people like Jeff Mills were playing around with all the new instruments that had just come out, synthesizers, 303s. They were pulling together sounds which hadn't been done before, synchronizing them in a beat and basically making early techno music.
Well, the rave culture, that's why I don't like the term rave. The rave culture actually emanated in the UK a good 4.5 years ago, 5 years ago now, as an underground illegal type of operation, where promoters or people who were into the kind of big group dance thing will go take over a warehouse and just throw a party.
I think it was an M25, it's a big freeway around London. People used to drive around the M25, and the pirate radio stations used to announce at like a specific time where the raves were. People used to shoot off the M25 and actually find the warehouses, and by the time the police got there, the whole M25 and most of the area up to the warehouse would be full of people and cars, and they couldn't really defuse the situation.
And really this is our presentation to Cape Town of cutting-edge dance entertainment. Many people still refer to this as the rave culture, which I guess that's where it emanates from. But we like to believe it's progressed. With what we've done here today, with the kind of decor we've done, the kind of themes we've gone for, it's more upmarket, it's more cutting edge. The crossover to home entertainment with the Wipeout 297 theme just gives them the cutting edge has got as the leading dance name in South Africa. It just means great laughs, great music, high level of entertainment. Since we began this thing just over a year ago, it was my desire to take the dance culture in South Africa from sort of the underground element that it was and really put on big productions such as you see here with major lights, sound, pyrotechnics, lasers, and just good level of entertainment.
Sort of like a musical experience that takes you throughout the night, that lifts you up from beatless silence to rumbling, screaming, thundering noise, and then back down again. And that's pretty cool.
On your average disco dance floor, you'll walk on there and you'll hear a very boring, really repetitive beat that has vocals to it. And when you're actually dancing, you're listening to the music. You're not actually listening, you're dancing to the beat, but you're listening to what someone's got to say, which most of the time these days, all vocals are really mindless. You're not really cared what that person's singing about, but nothing to do with you. On a rave dance floor, it's up to you, the DJ. Basically, the DJ has the control. And when he plays his music, once you get onto his wavelength of that music, he takes your heart, your whole body on a trip where he elevates you. He takes you to a point where you are totally elated, and then you can't handle anymore. You're dancing too hard, and he'll slowly bring you back down again. And that creates such a feeling of warmness, and everybody on the dance floor is feeling the same. And that unity is what a rave dance floor is all about.
Essentially, it has started to become a new South African thing where it started out as quite an elitist white thing, and then it started infiltrating into, like, let's say, called the so-called colored scene, but not into the so-called black scene at the moment. But it is starting to bridge the gap between the white scene and the so-called colored scene.
The music is the best thing. For me, the rave scene is there first, foremost for house music, because it's progressive, and no other scene, no matter what, you can say, okay, I'm close to this scene, because house music is a feeling. Music that we listen to is far more progressed than your average little song you hear on radio group or whatever. You know, it's got more sounds to it than meets the ear. It's like when you listen to it, you can see something in your mind. Subliminal? Subliminal. No, not at all. It's all about the feeling, and it's about understanding music and understanding yourself. Because a normal person will hear a song and he will hear all of the instruments together. But for me, people understand the music after a while because they can hear each thing separately. Each sound in the song separately. There's distinct sounds and synthesizers. But for a normal person that's not used to this rave scene, they just hear a cluttered sound that just goes doof, doof, doof all the time. But it's not like that. It's a song like any other song, like Janet Jackson or whatever. It's exactly the same.
The songs have a lot of feeling as well. Basically, every song tells another story. The DJ knows exactly which song to play for the mood that the crowd's in. And that's what makes it so amazing, because he always knows exactly what the crowd will want at a certain time.
Then there was the Ibiza Summer of Love, where everybody went down to Spain for Ibiza for their normal holiday, but the English took this music with them. And for the first time, house music and acid house music was played at the clubs in Ibiza. And people from Germany and Austria and France and everywhere else heard this music and took it back to their countries. And so trance started, which was predominantly in Germany. You got music starting in France, their own style of music, etc., etc. There was a lot of Belgian techno and house as well. And then, so the music carried on developing as we went back to the various parts of Europe. Then happy hardcore started in the UK, which is a harder form of house, and that split up into different breakbeat sounds like drum and bass, jungle, hard step. And at the same time, the techno carried on growing on its own, and out of it came house, which is also changed into the form that's listened to today. House is the predominant sound of the moment, but drum and bass is huge in the UK.
You dance and it's an energy. Everybody you see, everybody is happy and dancing to the max. They climax, you know, it's in a climax situation. The moment you walk in there, you can feel it. You can actually see people dancing and actually using it. And the moment you feel it, you just want to be part of it. Like, unite. Everybody must be together. Like you said, togetherness. Everybody feels the same way that you do. The moment you feel it, you can't help but enjoy it. You can't help but smile. And, you know, you get goosebumps. I get goosebumps when I go there, and I feel everybody's enjoying this energy, and everything is happy.
Also, that's the one gripe I've got about it. I mean, it's supposed to be all oneness and unity and all that, but if you notice, everyone's are on their own journey and their own mission. If you see, they're all facing one direction, and they're all quite a large number of them got their eyes closed. It's a personal thing. It's also unity because everyone's in the same place, but it's also personal because they're sort of on their own mission.
I disagree completely. I think we're living in a world where you can't just communicate with anybody. You can't just be close to anybody. They're all connecting spiritually on a mental level. They don't need to touch each other to be one.
You'll actually notice people contact each other with their eyes and motions. Like, you don't always have to touch everybody, and it's like some people don't like being touched, like myself. I don't like being touched. I prefer like seeing somebody and telling them my feelings with my movements and all that stuff.
You're on a dance floor and everywhere you look, there's smiling faces. There's sweaty bodies moving to the beat. There's an incredible vibe in the air, and you can ignore the fact that there's things like vibes and things like energies. Fine, you can pretend to dismiss all those things. But when you walk onto dance floor, there's something you can feel. It's tangible and it's real. And it's a product of thousands of people enjoying themselves. And that's what's so positive about the whole movement. It's a very, very simple thing which people don't seem to grasp. You put 1,000 people or more on a dance floor, they're all enjoying themselves, they're all united by the fact that they love the music, and they're having a good time. And that's the basic essence of raving, is just having a good time. Being uninhibited and enjoying the pleasure. And it's really as simple as that.
The trance, and I think that dates back very far for a lot of people. It's an interest in meditation. If you can call it that, I don't think you can. But it's really very intense.
People say they get carried on by the music, and the music like energizes them and everything. I mean, I can understand that. You know, I love music, all types of music, but I reckon everyone just goes on their own mission, you know, everyone's just like, they're not really communicating. I don't think they're really being social.
They're bored, they've seen it, done it, bought the t-shirt kind of scenario. They've done all that, you know, the same sort of thing as growing up. I mean, growing up, they've all done, you know, the going out down to the pubs or going out to a disco. They're growing up too quickly. They're bored. They're looking for a challenge in life. They're looking for, you know, something that can take them on that trip.
Scared.
Who should be?
The parents. Petrified. Because, you know, it's okay to live at night and sleep during the day. I've done that. But it's the, you know, the child comes home early morning, you know, what you've been doing? No, we've been dancing. And everyone says, well, I reckon in the parents' mind, they're thinking, you know, my son or daughter has been, you know, with their friends and they've had, you know, their Coca-Cola and they've, you know, chatted about school and all the rest of it. I think they're very naive, and I think, you know, if parents really want to know, they should, like, drop some acid, really, or take it. No, really, just experience it, you know, and just, like, realize, don't let their kids bullshit them, basically, because there's a whole, like, facade that you can hide behind, and parents won't even know. Parents are very ignorant when it comes to their children.
If you've been raving for longer than 6 months, you tend to appreciate one DJ more than the other, or you like 2 or 3 DJs. Personally, I'll dance to maybe 2, maximum 3 DJs. I don't like all the DJs' music. There's 2 hours that I will rave, go off, basically, to a certain DJ, and for the other 6 hours, I'll sit in the chill-out lounge. I don't have to like all 12 hours of music.
Chill-outs don't interest me personally. That's for the layman, you know, people that chill-outs because they're all flummed from the main dance floor. I mean, chill-out rooms don't interest me. People go there because they want to go touch and kiss and huddle and be all nice. No, much later, I've been in the scene far too long.
You're dancing for 3-4 hours non-stop. You're hot, you're tired, you're sweaty. You need to go and sit down somewhere and relax. Chill-out rooms, I mean, actually think about it. How boring would it be if you walked into a big hall and all you could do was dance? A lot of people like socializing. I'm not a big dancer. A lot of people aren't into dancing for 8 hours solid. You want to socialize, you want to go speak to somebody. You can't speak to somebody when you've got like 90 Ks of sound blaring at you the whole time. You've got to go somewhere else where it's quiet, i.e. your chill-out room. It's socializing. You can have a drink. You can talk to somebody. You can socialize, which is a big part of the whole thing. I mean, as Philip said just now, people on their own sort of mission, on their own journey, maybe on the dance floor. It is, in a way, you can't really speak to anybody, it's too loud, so a chill out room facilitates a place to relax, calm down, and socialize.
The dangers. Fires, usual things that are the dangers when more than 1,000 people are congregated in a small area. Those are the only dangers that I see.
I think the problems inherent with the rave scene are problems you encounter everywhere in the world. If a child who's 5 years old is told, don't ever cross a road, instead of how to cross a road, he's going to go find out and probably get knocked over. The fact is, yes, there are dangers out there. But to blow them out of proportion and then try and sweep them under a carpet and ignore them is the most stupid thing you can do. My only advice to a parent would be, from a young age, educate your child as to every danger which is out there. Let them make their own informed decision. If you blindfold them from when they're young, when they finally encounter those problems, they might not see the dangers inherent in those problems and then get burnt by them. There are dangers in the rave scene, just like there are dangers everywhere. But the thing with the rave scene is that it's an educated movement. People come in and they are explained the dangers involved, and they're allowed to make educated decisions. That's why it is such a positive movement, because people are educated, whereas people in the past have grown up in a much safer environment, and so maybe they didn't see the need for education. They hid the few problems which were inherent. Now we're in a society which is full of problems, full of dangers. So instead of hiding the dangers from your kids, as maybe happened 20, 30 years ago, explain the dangers to them. Then when they encounter them, they see something as a danger and they can deal with it.
It depends on the way the child's been brought up. If you bring your child up to make their own decisions, then they'll survive fine in the rave scene without doing drugs.
Sure, if people can reach, find inner peace within themselves, then there will be a rave scene without drugs. But there are people that go here because there's drugs, and there's people that go because of the music.
There are people, you can't deny it, that will take drugs, and there's people who will not. I mean, that's just the way it happens. The people who go to bars to drink, people go to bars to socialize. It's the same thing. So it's certain people who do it and certain people who don't. So it's there, you can't deny it, but the scene can go on without it.
It's basically peace and unity. I mean, going to a rave is like taking a drug, because once you're inside there, you get this natural high anyway, and it becomes addictive.
That alone is addictive.
Yeah, it becomes addictive.
It is addictive. You mean the rhythm is addictive?
The music, yeah, for sure. I reckon people go to raves for the, as I was saying just now, for two groups of people, one for drugs, one for the music. When I enter a rave, I hear the music, it's amazing. That alone is addictive. It feels like if I hear any music anywhere, it feels like I can dance just wherever I am.
They would see a stand. The stand is made very pretty and it's very appealing and it's got a lot of information at it. So what we're trying to do is to get people to take the information before anything happens to them. That's the idea. There are volunteers that work at the stand the whole night, and if there's a problem, if somebody needs to be taken, for example, to where the paramedics are, or if they need help with a friend they think has got a problem, they can come and call those volunteers who will then go check out what the problem is and do what we can.
I think at the end of the day, it's also learning from past experience. It's looking at maybe the rock and rollers and the hippies didn't have anything like this. And maybe some of these people have spoken about a possible organization like this. And when we sort of first heard or thought of the concept, it was something that we felt very strongly about, and we felt we had to do it to, give people a hand and guide people along the way.
It's a European concept, essentially, mostly out of Amsterdam. Holland started actually with heroin users, giving them clean needles. That's where it originates.
Yeah.
And currently it's one of the most progressive approaches to young people's drug use, which is saying, let's reduce the harm. Harm reduction is what it's called. Let's give people information, so they don't need to kill themselves at the end of the day.
It's a more empathetic way of dealing with the problem as opposed to a judgmental way. We're not, the whole approach is not based on telling people either you stop cold turkey or we will not help you. This approach says, well, look, guy, we think that if you take a step in the right direction, any step in the right direction is a step towards improved health and reduced harm.
Yeah. There's a quote by Socrates which sort of sums the whole thing up, and the funny thing is the people who are putting our scene down are people who this quote pertains to as well, and that's, he said sort of his era, that our children are out of control and their music is barbaric. And it's a quote he made, but it was meant to be a timeless quote, and it is. In the 60s, the parents from the 50s thought the music was barbaric and the kids were out of control. Now the 60s flower power kids who've had all of us think we're out of control and the music's barbaric. It's a progression.
Yeah, I think society's just scared of change. Basically, society fears indifference and change.